Welcome to Radio KAL, the Superman podcast brought to you by supermanhomepage.com. This is show number 100, released on April 25th, 2013. My name is Steve Eunice, and joining me as always is my good friend Scotty V. Hey, Scott.
Hello, Steve. What's happening, everybody? Isn't this the episode of the series where one of the major players has to be killed in some strange fashion?
I haven't told you, have I?
No.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Jeez. Clark's going to choose his girlfriend over me again. Oh.
No, well, happy 100th anniversary to us. It's amazing that we've, 8 years or something that's the, I think it equates to. So, yeah, it's fantastic that everyone still wants to listen to this podcast and that it's still going strong.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm glad to be a part of it. I haven't been here the whole 8 years, but I guess it's been a couple now for me, anyway.
Yeah.
But 100, that's a big milestone. I mean, what I was referring to, of course, is many series on TV, when they reach their 100th episode, they try to do something special. I don't know that you'd call it special, but when Smallville reached 100, I believe that was the episode that they took Jonathan Kent away from us.
That's correct. Yeah, they did a fake switch with Lana dying and then Clark reversing that and ended up being Jonathan, who was the one who kicked the bucket. But we hopefully won't see any deaths this episode, but we do. It is a special episode because we do have so much to talk about, especially in regards to Man of Steel.
There's a lot going on, and I think it's funny and a little ironic because it almost seems like it's right on the heels of people saying to me, gosh, I wish DC would do something to market this movie and let people know it exists. And then it's bang, bang, bang. It's like 5, 6, 7 different things right in a row going, seems like they're doing quite a bit to me. You know.
Yeah, everyone, it's funny because people were complaining, especially on the website, about, oh, none of my friends know about this movie. They all know about Star Trek and Iron Man, which, as we've discussed, come out like a month or more before Man of Steel. So, of course, they're going to be further down the line in their marketing campaigns. But bang, smash, wallop, and all of a sudden Man of Steel is on everybody's lips. And, everyone's just praising this latest trailer, which we will get to. We'll talk about that in this episode. But I wanted to first talk about Superman's 75th anniversary. That happened on April 18th. So, this month of this podcast that we're now discussing. So another anniversary there to discuss for Superman. 75 years. Amazing.
Yeah, and still, I mean, debatably as popular as ever. Lots of things going on. Movies. We have the Brainiac film coming out soon. We have Man of Steel this year. We have the celebration, of course, happens every year. Hopefully they'll have some special things going on there. There's stuff going on in Cleveland. Everybody's excited about 75 years with Superman. Yeah,
there's been lots of websites and radio stations promoting Superman's 75th anniversary. Cleveland, obviously the city, Cleveland, Ohio, where Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster grew up when they came up with the idea for Superman, is really doing a lot there to celebrate Superman's origins and roots in their city, and doing various things. So if you check out, I think it's clecityhall.com, meaning Cleveland City Hall. You can check out all the events going on in Cleveland, and that's great to hear that they're embracing Superman, and that's can only be good things for the city and good things for the character. I mentioned radio stations. I was actually interviewed by ABC Radio here in Sydney, 702 on the AM dial, and they wanted to talk to me all about why Superman's been so popular for so long and why he continues to win the hearts and minds of fans everywhere. So that was great. Got a few plugs in for the homepage, which is always good.
You're like a big celebrity, called up to, people know that you're the foremost expert on Superman, and who better to call and who better to interview about the 75th anniversary than our own Steve Eunice.
Oh, well, I guess it's cheaper than calling long distance somebody in America, so They probably lucked out there getting someone like me close to home to talk to. But no, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was only like 3 minutes, but you can hear that on the website if you missed it. And so, I thoroughly enjoyed doing that. But lots going on around Superman's 75th anniversary. Lots of infographics on the websites. People, looking at Lois Lane over the years. Obviously, it's her 75th anniversary as well. She appeared in Action Comics #1 alongside Superman. So, 75 years for Lois as well as Superman.
No, I guess that's 75 years of the in general Superman that we know, because wasn't there there was an article or something in a science fiction magazine before that introduced Superman as a villain when they first came up with the idea. So then probably a year or two before the Superman Truth Justice thing came into fruition, where he was a hero. Is that
Jerry Siegel?
Obviously
he originally came up with the idea the Superman was a bald villain who had like mind control powers, but that was never published. That was more of something that they self-published and did a few copies of, and then when it was rejected, it was thrown out and burnt. I think only a couple of pages existed because in his frustration, Jerry threw them in the fire. But that was in like 1933 where they came up with that concept. And then they changed it, and it was and then in 1938, as we know, on April 18th, the first issue of Action Comics #1, the actual published comic book from National Periodicals, came out with a date of June on the cover, but the actual magazine comic book hit shelves on April 18th.
So the spark of the idea that became a 75-year-old American and worldwide phenomenon, interesting, that began, of course, 5 years or so earlier as a strange idea for a villain that they had, which seemingly turned into Lex Luthor later on, this bald kind of villain guy, which is just kind of cool. There were also several news articles in big newspapers, the New York Times, still, L.A. Times, I'm sure other newspapers across. It's kind of a big thing. I remember when they did the death of Superman, it was on all these news programs, and it was in newspapers, and it was a big thing, and this kind of reminds me of that. It is kind of a big anniversary, and it's kind of amazing that he's still going pretty strong.
Yeah, exactly. Now, as we talked about at the top of the show, the viral marketing campaign really kicked into gear this last couple of weeks for Man of Steel. Let's go through the steps of exactly what happened and how it happened. I published this in the Big Blue Report newsletter, issue 284, outlining the steps of what happened. But let's just go through it here between you and I. First off, it kind of started with that Deep Space Radio Wave Project website, dsrwproject.com, which surfaced back in December 2012 as a viral marketing campaign for Man of Steel, and suddenly it became active once more with a new deep space transmission for fans to decode.
I gotta say, these people are much more intelligent than I am, because I look at these things and I go, I don't know. And maybe I'm just lazy. I know I'm lazy. I mean, I say that. I tell that to everybody. But I look at it and I go, boy, I hope somebody figures it out soon so I can look at what it is.
Yeah, I just sat back and waited for each of the 4 words to be deciphered and decoded, because I had no idea what was going on. And each time I checked, I couldn't find anything that was actually there to do. So I don't know if it was people were working it out, or if it just on its own got deciphered by people in the background. But anyway, the the 4 words that were there in Kryptonian, or this new version of Krypton writing that we're seeing for Man of Steel, came out to be the transmission of 4 words that are "You are not alone."
Not alone.
Yes.
Oh.
Now,
Sorry.
What did you think when you saw those 4 words at the end of that deciphering period?
Well, it was interesting. Clearly, it went a different way. But my first thinking was that it was a message from Jor-El, that even though he, technically is alone, something like he'll never be alone, or will always be with you, or you carry all of Krypton with you, or that sort of thing. I thought perhaps it would be kind of a hopeful type message.
Similar to what they did in Smallville with when Christopher Reeve was the professor who found that coded message from Jor-El in that TV show.
Love that. That was really one of my favorite episodes for a number of reasons. They first used the music, I believe, the John Williams theme in that episode, and they had the Kryptonian theme playing, and of course, obviously, we finally found out a bit about Krypton. I think that was a second or third season, but yeah. So that's what I kind of expected it to be, and obviously, that did not turn out to be the case.
No, well then, manofsteel.com, the official website for the movie, was taken over by this white noise, this static, and it seemed to be clearing up as the hours went on, and we weren't sure what was going on, but as the static cleared up, we started seeing a symbol. At first it looked like the regular S symbol for the movie, but then it was quickly revealed to be the symbol for General Zod, the familiar symbol now that we're seeing on action figures and statues of his particular symbol. And at around 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the next day, the symbol became a video message, and as we know, that was the message by General Zod giving an ultimatum to Earth, to KAL, and let's just play the audio from that now so that we can relive that message.
My name is General Zod. For some time, your world has sheltered one of my citizens. I request that you return this individual to my custody. To KAL, I say this: surrender within 24 hours, or watch this world suffer the consequences.
So, what did you think when you heard that?
Chilling. I kind of get chills from it again, just hearing it now. But I thought the first thing I thought of was that was just fantastic. I mean, it showed Zod in such a scary kind of, because you couldn't see him. He was just kind of this weird figure kind of moving around in the static, and it was a little bit of like, it almost reminded me of like a person moving in a strobe light or something, but he was in static, and the message itself was, it's scary, but it's also like really dramatic and just exciting. I've never really seen a piece of marketing that I thought was more effective than that.
Yeah, I felt almost like he was speaking to me. Like, it felt like he was speaking to us as a human race. Like, it felt like we were involved in this. Like, it wasn't just a trailer. It wasn't just something to watch. That the message was meant for us as human beings. That was almost the kind of the feeling that you got from it. And I thought that's what helped it along, is that, it felt almost like War of the Worlds type thing, where it was a message sent to us as human beings on this planet.
Yeah, it was, right on everybody's little tablet or screen, or, the way we're all connected now with all this social media. And of course, they call this a viral marketing campaign. You could almost imagine that a visiting alien that was planning on causing havoc could tap into all of our information systems and give us this specific message right to us, kind of warning us, but also letting us know at the same time that there's really not much we could do to kind of stop him from doing what he wants to do, I guess.
Now, what do you think of the idea that maybe this could actually be a part of the film? Like, that this is a segment of the movie that we will see in the actual film?
Well, I've talked about this with a few people, and my impressions were that it's probably not going to be a part of the film, just because it kind of, it seems like it was made specifically to be this type of viral marketing thing. And also, I'm a little concerned because, we've always kind of had the discussion that if Superman wasn't in Metropolis, would there be all these giant robots destroying buildings and creatures coming down and trying to kill him and killing other people in the process and destroying the city? And the explanation is always, well, I guess others would be there, and if Superman wasn't there, no one would be able to stop them. But the way this little thing with Zod makes it sound, it almost makes it seem like Superman's new to the planet. People don't even know if they can trust him or not, and he's just saying, listen, turn him over. And, Kal-El specifically, surrender, or, this planet is going to feel the consequences. And in that, I get the idea that most people would just say, well, we don't care. Let him go with you. Don't destroy us. And he would say the same thing. So then all of this havoc that is supposedly going to happen in the movie seemingly is caused simply because Superman is here and Zod wants him. Not necessarily from what it looks like that he wants to rule the world or destroy the world anyway, but maybe we'll get, I'm not sure.
It's interesting to see how that will play out. It kind of adds a new element to the whole Superman in handcuffs, image that we've seen, because with this message, if this message is sent to the governments of Earth and they find out where he is and they say to him, look, you need to come with us, that would be something that Kal-El, Clark Kent, Superman would do. He would say, yeah, okay, I understand. This is my fight. He wants me. I don't want anybody else to suffer. Take me under, arrest me, kind of thing.
Yeah, I find myself, we'll get into it as we move on to the trailer, but I find myself wondering if, not this message specifically, but the idea that all Zod wants is for him to surrender is what it's going to look like on its face, but it's going to turn into something more than that.
Yeah, he's got ulterior motives underneath that. So as that message went, the whole idea of IWillFindHim.com kind of raised its head, and that came about because of these billboards. I don't know if you saw one in particular in your area, but the first one seemed to appear in Culver City, California, and there are supposedly other billboards around the United States with this Kryptonian numbers, and obviously using the Kryptonian numbers that we already knew about from that Deep Space Project website. It was deciphered to be a IP address, which is a numerical internet address, which translated to the website IWillFindHim.com, and that was a new countdown, a 48-hour countdown in Kryptonian numbers, that everyone was like sitting on the edge of the seats waiting to see what that countdown would reveal. We all thought it would be the trailer, but nobody really knew.
Yeah, I don't live in what you would call a cool city or a cool area. That would be I don't even get movie billboards at all in my area. But in and around probably the Philadelphia area, New York City, those types of places where you do see these large billboards over high traffic areas, I would imagine was a likely place that something like this would have been. I haven't heard any reports specifically other than the one you mentioned that's listed on the website, but I would imagine if they had others that those would be in the places that they would be at. And of course we have another situation where they want us to do some work to decipher and figure out and go where we need to go and look at these numbers. I still don't even know how people figured out what the numbers were in the first place back when it happened in December.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like, this is people what they're working out. This is, it kind of just falls in your lap. This is the solution to the problem. And I don't know if anybody actually worked it out or who worked it out, but it worked out to be this website, and this countdown ended on Tuesday, April 16th at about 8:15, a little bit after 8:15 of the evening, and it was indeed the 3-minute trailer for Man of Steel, which set the internet alight. Everybody was buzzing about this trailer. Everybody was so just enamored with the trailer. It just seemed to hit all the right buttons, all the right notes. Everyone loved it.
I think I've seen one person who didn't, and he just kept harping on it's going to ruin it, it's terrible, it's the worst movie ever. You know, there were like 48 posts in a row where this person was just intent on telling us how terrible the movie was going to be. And again, we go back to things we've talked about before, how so many people tend to jump to conclusions based on so very little information and not having actually seen the movie. Although seeing this trailer, I don't see how anybody could think anything but positive things. As you say, most people were just so excited and so impressed with it, and so, you know, looking forward to seeing more. And probably the more we're going to get is when we actually see the movie, because I don't know that they're going to release much more footage. And I like the idea that they're kind of keeping it as much of it a mystery, the story, where exactly the plot's going, what's going on, kind of under wraps as they can.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably see more TV spots, which will be shortened versions of trailers that we've seen so far. Don't know if we'll get, as you said, any more footage, like another 3-minute trailer or anything like that for Man of Steel. But it'll be interesting to see what we do get as these next month and just under 2 months now till the movie's release. But we did hear finally some music from Hans Zimmer from the score for this movie. Your thoughts on that?
I don't think we've heard, you know,
The
a
theme.
specific theme yet. You know, I'm not sure, as none of us are, where exactly that's going to go. We know that Zimmer has announced beforehand that he wasn't going to try to mimic Williams. He wasn't going to try to top that per se. Mm-hmm. Although we do have high hopes that it will equal it in some way or another.
Yeah.
And hopefully there will be some sort of discernible theme. I have found with Spider-Man, with the Avengers, with Batman, that there isn't really a theme that kids, adults, everybody can kind of walk out of the theater, you know, waving their fist back and forth and singing. So I'm hoping that there will be something along those lines. That being said, however, I was very moved by what we did get. I read beforehand about this 12-drum circle where they got some well-known drummers from different bands and different areas, and they brought them together, and they were going to put this whole sort of sound together. And you can hear it in the trailer. You know, it starts off quiet with piano, and it's very touching, and we're seeing the emotional side of Jor-El and also of Jonathan Kent. And then, of course, it ramps up when the action starts to ramp up. And I think that the drums are incredible. I mean, I think they are stirring, and they do kind of make you feel like, you know, in a way, I kind of felt like I'm Superman. Like I'm, you know, my arms are up and I'm, you know, showing my muscles, and I'm feeling ramped up. I'm feeling like a wrestler, like walking down the aisle and getting ready to crawl over the turnbuckle and climb in and fight somebody. It just kind of got me going. And then, of course, there were little strains of music in there, which I think if expanded upon, we could hear what we often talk about as being the word Superman present in the soundtrack. And since we did not hear the full 3-strain part, I think this, again, isn't the theme, but that there might still be one.
Yeah, we don't know what part of the film this music is from. We don't know if it's the main theme of the movie, but it was very interesting to hear. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked the piano, especially in the beginning, while Jor-El's looking on at what seems to be some type of civil war or some kind of an attack in Krypton's actual, on the planet Krypton. There were so many great scenes in this movie. Any concerns people had about Pa Kent, about Jonathan Kent, and his motives and his emotions were totally swept aside, I think, with that one scene about where he tells Clark, "You are my son," and I think it raised a lump and a tear to many eyes watching this trailer. It was an emotional beat in the trailer, and just from there, just as you said, ramped up. We got to see Superman walking out of what appeared to be the doors at the Fortress of Solitude. We saw, a lot of fighting scenes. We saw what so many people have been wondering and hoping for: Superman punching someone. I don't know why that seems to be such a bonus for so many people. But we see him punching Zod a number of times in midair at the very end of the scene, and we get that great little segment with Lois interviewing or interrogating Superman at a government facility where he's in shackles, and she's asking him about the S on his chest, and the editing in that is obviously there's a lot of heavy editing at the time when she's about to say the word Superman, and obviously that's done for comedic reasons for the trailer. I don't think we're seeing exactly how that plays out in the actual movie.
No, and I think people are kind of used to the idea that they do that in trailers now, even though it seems oftentimes when you see something like that, people come down on it, just like with the Jonathan Kent thing and the maybe, and we don't know where that is or how it comes out or what order it's in or what the actual impetus of that is. But same thing here. It could be that she's interrupted before she could say it, but it might not be. And who exactly knows what happened there? I also don't know. We talked about before that it kind of puts a new spin on him being taken away in handcuffs, and it seems to be much too calm an interview for there to be a war raging outside with Zod. Yeah. So I'm not sure that the horror of Zod has even happened yet at this point, or where we're at. Obviously, none of us know. But I do, as you say, love that little scene. It's you get all this pounding action at you for a while, and then it slows down, and you got this quiet moment between Lois and Superman, and he's just all kind of nonchalant and laid back, but also full of confidence and charm at the same time, and she again looks great. I think I love Amy Adams, but puts the question to him kind of in a sly, kind of snarky way, and I like that.
Yeah, very cheeky. There's so much chemistry in there, but in that little segment between the two of them, Henry Cavill, as you said, is very charming, and Amy Adams just comes across as very lovable in that go-get-it type of attitude that she has, and obviously has a big standing in the eyes of the people running the show, because when does a newspaper reporter get to do the questioning in a government secure facility of an alien being? So obviously she has a pretty high standing, or has a reason for being the one who's doing the interviewing.
Yeah, I did think of that after the fact. They're in this enclosed room, and he's still shackled, and all the army guys are outside, and I found myself wondering how she got in there, which on its face is actually pretty awesome, because Lois is supposed to be this go-getter, this person who can get around kind of boundaries and get inside and get information that other people can't get, and it kind of, without there being an actual character description, it kind of gives you an opening to see what Lois Lane is really about, and that shows us so much more than you would think you would see from just such a tiny little snippet. Yeah. And also she does a little bit of narration earlier on. I don't know if she's talking to Perry White, or if she's explaining why she hasn't been able to get this story, or if she's just talking to us, or if that's going to be kind of a running narration at different times through the movie, which might be kind of a cool thing. I mean, I don't think I want narration from beginning to end from Lois, but it might be kind of neat if at certain points, throughout the movie, we hear kind of a narration of what her story is going to be. That they do that a lot of times in the comic books, where one person will be writing about whatever it is we're reading, the actual action of the story, and then there'll be little blocks and then at the end you see that they've been typing this into a computer or whatever, and that we're seeing throughout we're seeing the narration that we read is them writing this story, and that kind of made me think that they might be doing something like that with Lois, which would also increase her role and make her more important to the story that we're watching.
Yeah, and also the fact that she's been doing this long research, this long search for this person who's a ghost, who's a savior, who's, obviously there's been this guardian angel that's been going around saving people. We've seen him on a fishing boat, we've seen him on a oil refinery platform. Obviously does all these saving kind of activities that he has to do throughout his travels, but then he has to move on because obviously he's, people's questions start being asked. So she's obviously following this trail for a number of years of this person who, seems to be doing these amazing feats.
I get the impression that it's kind of a personal journey for her, a thing that for some reason, and I think how cool would it be if at some point when she was a little bit younger, he was involved with her in some way, saving her family, saving someone close to her, and so now she has reason to believe for sure that he exists, that he's out there. He's not some Bigfoot or a Loch Ness monster thing where she's running around chasing after a tabloid story, but that she really has this knowledge, this firsthand knowledge of this guy, and she really wants to find out his story because she feels like she owes him kind of for saving her life or someone else's life that she was close to. This would be an excellent way to kind of explain why she had been so kind of interested in finding out about this, but also if there are these big events where he's rescuing people and it's in the news and things, but they just don't have pictures of him, it would be clear to all of us that there was someone doing things. It's not like, oh, I was out hunting with my brother and I saw Bigfoot. It's different than that.
Yeah.
When you have a big giant oil refinery breaking down and hundreds of people are saved somehow and there's no real explanation for it, but every single one of the 100 people describes this man who saved them, it's a little different than people seeing spots moving through the sky and claiming that there were aliens or whatever. So
exactly.
I don't think it makes her necessarily seem like she's an obsessed UFO chaser, especially if they give us, which it seems like they're going to, more clear evidence that there is a person there that needs to be kind of tracked down.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and we'll wait and see what happens with more of Man of Steel's marketing and promotion as the weeks ahead go by. They're going to go by very quickly.
Cool. How cool does Krypton look?
Yeah, it looks like a living, breathing planet. It's it has animals, it has cities, it has nature. It just seems like a real, like I said, living, breathing planet, which kind of adds more gravitas to the fact that it's destroyed or that there is a problem there. We don't know what's going to happen, but it just kind of adds more realism to it.
Yeah, I always felt like there was like 47 people on Krypton, and they all lived inside this egg that opened up, and there was ice out there, and they all died. And I was like, okay, 43 people on a planet, that's terrible. But it's not like if the Earth, it didn't seem like the Earth to me. It didn't seem like something I could really relate to. It didn't seem like an entire civilization, and then that civilization's animal populace, and everything that was about that planet was destroyed. It seemed like, okay, a big giant ball of ice blew up and a couple of people died. That's the impression I always got from the original films, and I had always said, obviously that was really dramatic and it was done really well, and that was probably the best part of that movie when you break it down, because then when they got to Metropolis, it got a little silly and jokey, and Lex was kind of silly, and but that part was really taken seriously, and if only it was expanded upon and there was kind of more of a world. And here we have exactly what I personally have been looking for so long, this colorful world that's clearly alive and is a planet, and I assume we're going to see more, and more than just 5 people in a in a Congress talking about whether or not they want to put people in hula hoops and take them away. Also, somebody mentioned and there were screenshots, and I still can't make out a body, but that the flying creature that they show at the beginning, there's either speculation or it's been confirmed by the producers or the writers or by Snyder that is a mount, and that it is Jor-El's mount. I don't know if this is a rumor or if this has actually been confirmed somewhere, and the picture kind of shows it zoomed in, and I can't make out a full.
I got the impression that there was somebody riding this dragonfly beast. That was the impression I got, but again, I can't confirm that.
Yeah, I didn't get that. When I watched it, I just thought, oh, look at that, creatures. I didn't really think, but yeah, if he is, that is kind of cool. There's another shot later on where I couldn't make out what was behind this person, but there's a figure kind of plummeting through the air, and there's like 3 streaks of silver behind him that almost look like sideways buildings, but they're in a weird angle. That how would you get them behind you like that? And from some of the other analysis that I've been looking at, it seems like that is interpreted to be a shot on Krypton of somebody diving at Jor-El or someone else on one of these dragon. I don't know how they got all this, from these such quick snippets, but I guess people break these things down and come up with their own theories. But I don't know what you thought of that, or who you thought that was, or where you thought that was. Or...
Yeah, it's very hard to make out, or like you said, they've take a second or so of these quick scenes, and that was just an impression I got with the Dragonfly thing, that there was somebody writing that. I'm not recalling the other streaks, the things coming behind that you were just referring to there, but I guess a lot of fans are just speculating on things, or have read rumours of other reviews or reports that people who've supposedly seen early screenings of this film and trying to connect dots that maybe are not there. But it's interesting to speculate, and again, June will reveal all. And but until we get there, we've got all these promotions and marketing things going on, all this merchandise coming out. Kellogg's, which is great to see Kellogg's involved with Superman once again. Obviously, they were a very big sponsor of the show in the 1940s and 1950s with the radio series, and then the George Reeves TV show, the Adventures of Superman. They were the major sponsor of Superman back then. So it's great to see Kellogg's involved with the Superman project once again, and they're doing a promotion where you buy selected products of their Kellogg's different food products, and they're a barcode that you can scan using their new app that they've got, and it unlocks certain powers, and you can win some fabulous prizes with this Kellogg's promotion.
Fabulous. I heard that they're going to give you the ability to fly. They're going to give you super strength. You're going to be able to be really fast. These are just some of the things I've heard,
Well, they're going to give you, like you said, the powers of Superman, or the equivalent in prizes. You've got flight, which is an airline ticket for a year, so 2 round-trip tickets per month. Strength, a personal trainer for a year, 1 session per week. Speed, a 2013 Ford Mustang. Vision, more movie tickets for a year for a family of 4. I mean, these are great prizes.
They are.
Any of that, they're worth quite a bit of money.
Now, what is that? Is that the grand prize, or is that 4 people are going to win one of each of these?
Well, it says look for codes inside specially marked Cheez-It, Keebler, Kellogg's, and Pop-Tarts products for your chance to become the Man of Steel. Each time you enter a code, you could win instantly. But it doesn't say. You have to you have to be part of the Kellogg's Family Rewards program to enter. So you go to kellogg'sfamilyrewards.com/Man of Steel, and there'll be more details there in regards to being involved in that promotion.
I think everybody should do that, because who doesn't want the powers of Superman or a Ford Mustang?
Exactly. Now, there are some other great products like Kotobukiya and Square Enix have come out with figures and statues that they're releasing for Man of Steel, which look pretty awesome. I don't know how people are going to afford all these products for Man of Steel.
I don't know either. I'm not really worried about everybody else. I'm just thinking about me, and I have no idea. I've already put some pre-orders on a few. There's one that's like it almost looks. It's somewhat anime looking, but it's a figure, but it's a adult collector figure, and they're like $80, and they're just they're not. It's not a statue. It's a figure with posable arms and stuff, and removable hands if you want to put a different grip on there or whatever. And I wanted that, and then I found out it was $80, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. And thinking about other people like us, as you say, I have no idea how people are going to remortgage their home.
It's troubling. A lot of a lot of fans, young people. I don't know how much disposable income they've got to fork out $80 on a figure, like you said, or these statues. That going to the movie alone is going to cost you, a pretty pack if you want to see it a couple of times, which a number of us probably will. We want to see it in IMAX, want to see it in 3D, 2D, whatever you can. And speaking of movie tickets, their advanced movie tickets are on sale now for people in the USA and UK. The UK just today, as we're recording this, announced 6 cinemas that are taking advanced movie ticket bookings for Man of Steel. So it's happening.
Wow. I'm just looking again at these Square Enix figures. They look so cool. You know, you can imagine these on a shelf or in like one of your, you know, cabinets with the lights and stuff, you know, but I just don't know. I just don't know.
What to do.
Exactly. How am I going to...
How am I going to finance this?
I think this, the Kotobukiya one, I think is the one that I actually already pre-ordered, I believe. But it's just, there's so many cool looking things. And this is a great looking statue. You know, the colors are vibrant. The suit, of course, is a slightly muted, darker tone of blue, but the cape is bright red. You know, it just looks like something you'd want to have on your shelf as a Superman fan.
Yeah, exactly. And you got the DC collectible ones. You've got the Mattel Movie Masters one. There's just so many great figures and statues coming out. Not to mention the Mattel, you know, the small action figures that you get for kids in that. You know, which there's going to be 1 million of those because they're just going to come out in all different flavors and colors and, you know, all these little trick things that you can do with all the different ones. I'm probably looking more at the high-end ones, like you said, the figurines, the statues that are more of adult display items than the toys so much. But there's just so much coming out. They just all look so great. It's going to be very difficult to pick and choose and to finance what is going to be an expensive hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just hoping that we see finally an entire aisle or two in Toys R Us like Batman has had for 10 years, a Superman aisle for kids, you know, even if you're not going to buy them yourself. But, you know, with Kellogg's involved and, you know, Walmart's going to have this whole thing where they're selling advanced tickets and employees are all going to wear capes and things. I think kids are going to get excited, and I could see a place where, you know, you kind of have a whole aisle or more of these different Superman figures and vehicles and all kinds of different things.
Yeah, I mean, how cool is it that Walmart's getting involved? They don't usually sell movie tickets as far as I understand it. So for them to have this big promotion where their staff are going to be wearing capes, they're going to be having all these different things, it shows to me that there's obviously a lot of excitement and a lot of you know, a build-up for this movie and expectation of this movie that I hope it lives up to.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I almost went out and filled out a Walmart application today. It's just so that I could be involved with this whole thing, you know? Because, you know, you're working there and people get to take home the little end caps, the you know, it's a big picture of Superman or it's a big S or, you know, and you get some bonuses if you're involved with that kind of a promotion, you know. Already we've seen the Walmart employee magazine or something had an exclusive kind of small picture that no one else has seen in there, kind of announcing to their employees that they're going to be doing this promotion. And it's just really, really cool. And I think, you know, to answer a lot of the people who have been saying there's no marketing going on, no one cares about this movie, they're going to let it go by the wayside. I mean, Walmart is a huge company, and hundreds of thousands of people go through there every day. And to see all the employees wearing capes and to see all of the posters that are going to be up and all of the advertising just in the store alone is going to be a huge marketing boost. And clearly they're putting time and effort into making deals with these other companies and things to get the word out there.
Yeah, so much happening with Man of Steel. It's really exciting, and we're just you know, waiting now for those couple of weeks to go. It's going to happen really quickly. Still haven't heard anything about a world premiere. But hopefully get some details there because I am headed stateside and I want to be there. So as do you.
I honestly can't believe we're this close already. I mean, it's you know, it just seems like not that long ago people were saying 2 years. Oh my God, how can we wait 2 years? You know, and we're already here. It is upon us. And yes, I would love to be. You know, of course, it's easier for me. I live here, but depending on where it's going to be, how far you got to go, what it's going to cost, and how I could possibly be involved. It'd be nice to get some information sometime.
Yeah. Now let's move away from Man of Steel. We've pretty much covered what's happened to date around that movie. There's all little other different things going on. Obviously, there's you know, Empire magazine covers for the June 2013 edition of that magazine that look fantastic. There's interviews and things going around, giveaways, but we'll move on to Superman Unbound, the animated movie that obviously is based on the Jeff Johns Superman Brainiac story from the comic books. That comes out May 7th, and we've seen a couple of preview clips now posted on the internet for that animated movie. It's kind of been overshadowed by Man of Steel, obviously, for Superman fans, but it's still something I'm looking forward to.
I'm very much looking forward to it. I've enjoyed most of these direct to DVD animated features, and I'm more a DC fan and always have been, and of course Superman being number one. But I have tried to watch some of the Marvel animated releases, and I just don't. I don't find them to be as well done as these, and I'm not even talking about specific animation choices on each film because they change with each one, and some of them I'm more happy with than others. But I don't know if it's story, if it's emotional content. I'm not exactly sure what it is about it, but they're just more appealing to me. They're easier to watch. I get more fulfillment out of watching these DC ones than I do any of the others, and I think a lot of times the animation is fantastic. The voice acting is so much better than in most other, forms of television animation or, released straight to DVD animation. And they must do well enough that they keep making these and they keep making them with such great quality that, and I like, looking at this one, I like the idea that he's kind of, we're talking about Lois Lane having snark in the trailer, that he kind of has a little snark to him, when he's answering Brainiac or saying certain things. I kind of like the idea that he might make little quips while he's, fighting with something, because a lot of people say it doesn't make sense for Spider-Man sometimes because he's just the guy and he could be killed, and is it really a joking matter when you're about to be crushed to death? But with Superman, not many things can really hurt him. They can knock him around a little or throw him across the room, but he's going to get up every time, so why not say something every time he does?
Yeah, and you mentioned the voice cast and how, just how well-rounded they are, and the casting itself is fantastic. I mean, in this one alone, we've got Matt Bomer, who's the voice of Superman and has been connected with Superman in various incarnations for quite a number of years, was almost cast in a never made live action movie. He was in a Japanese car commercial as Superman, and now he gets to voice the character of Superman in this animated movie. We've got John Noble, who just sounds fantastic in this role as Brainiac, and then you've got Castle TV stars Molly Quinn and Stunner Caddick as the voices of Supergirl and Lois Lane, respectively, and just an all-round stellar cast.
Yeah, I mean they go all out with, they're not just casting anybody in these, and they do it every time. It seems like anytime they make one of these, they're putting the time, the effort, the money, the energy into, and coming up with something pretty great every time. So I think fans should be really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and they don't just settle with the same old people that they have. They could just go to Tim Daly or George Newbern every time they need a Superman voice. But they're trying something different, they're trying something new, and I think it's interesting to hear the different interpretations of these character roles. I think my hat goes off to Warner Brothers Animation for trying different things with these new animated movies.
Absolutely. When I was listening to the one clip, Matt Bomer actually, and I don't know if he probably didn't do it on purpose, but for a moment I actually thought it was Tim Daly doing the voice. So I don't know if that was a purposeful decision or if they both just seem to have a similar take or similar idea, or maybe their voices just sound similar. But I had to realize that it was Matt Bomer in this one.
Yeah, it seems, well, obviously they got Andrea Romano, who's the voice casting director, would obviously give them instructions on a particular way that Superman should sound, I guess, in some respects. But generally these people are cast because they may sound like Superman should sound. A lot of people have trouble distinguishing between Tim Daly and George Newbern, so it's not out of the realms of possibility that Matt Bomer sounds very similar to those guys as well.
No, that makes sense.
Okay, well, let's move into our comic book discussions. Obviously, there's nothing on TV that we can talk about anymore. But Smallville Season 12, that's going to be on NBC next year. Of course, we've all heard about that. Yes, and Young Justice Season 13.
That's right.
We don't want to pick that scab anymore. That's an old wound that we need to...
Super Friends, Champions of the Galaxy or whatever, that's coming back, of course.
Yes, and Fleischer Cartoon season 33.
Right.
But comic books, Superman number 18 was probably the one that just came out right after we recorded our last episode of this podcast. And that was the one where Superman refuses the US government to enter his Fortress of Solitude and do some investigating.
Yeah, I can already hear, I hadn't searched for it, but I can already hear fans going, that's not something Superman would do. And then I'll hear other ones saying, oh, so Superman's not such a pansy for the U.S. government. And I didn't really have a take on it one way or another other than it kind of makes sense that he's not going to let people traipse around inside the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah, I mean, it's his home. But it makes sense to me, and he might have come across as a bit brash or as a bit arrogant, but it's not inside the US airspace or ground space or whatever you want to call it, so it's not really up to them to say, hey, we want to have a look at what's going on up in your Antarctic or Arctic fortress, wherever it's supposed to be. Well,
I guess Lois did say to him that it was an international tribunal. It wasn't. It wasn't just the United States saying it, but apparently, kind of like the UN or League of Nations or something where.
We're in chapter. Looking at the book right now, it says the United States Senate.
Yeah, I think that's where it was taking place. But then for some reason, when Lois meets him outside on the stairs, she says, "Any reason you decided to decline this international tribunal's request or whatever?" Which made me think that maybe it wasn't just people inside the U.S., but maybe it was other countries convening there as well.
Yes, you're right.
That had some say on the international community, which would then mean that just like when they put sanctions on countries for doing wrong things, that several countries with a say have come together and said, listen, this concerns all of us. We need to find out what's going on up there. And I can see it from their side as well. Now, Superman's our hero, so we immediately want to side with him. But on the other hand, a big disaster did just happen up there, and it was centered right at the Fortress of Solitude. So people in charge with kind of helping make sure their country stay safe and their people stay alive, and that the world keeps on, turning, would probably be extremely curious, but not only curious, but worried about what's going on up there and what else might come out of there, and how Superman actually is involved. It kind of reminds me of Man of Steel again. In the Christopher Reeve movies, it was just accepted that he was there. There was no, probing. There was no government trying to find out where this alien being was from. There was no sense of, and a lot of people complain about the word realism, but there was no sense of how it might actually go down if a being of that kind of power came to the planet and also had a fortress like this that had this kind of power. I believe that the reactions would be very similar to what we see in this book, because it is kind of a scary, worrisome situation up there, and what just happened almost destroyed the world. Yep. So it makes sense to me from both sides. He doesn't want them in there. He's saying also to protect them, but it's his private area, and as long as nobody like hell shows up, there isn't going to be any danger from his point of view.
Yeah.
The book was, I found it a much quicker read than some of the other ones that we're going to be covering this month. And it's weird. I noticed at the very beginning that it kind of had a strange, watercolor look to it. And then it seemed to change later on. When he says to Lois on the steps, I'll see you around, and he flies off. I'm not sure I like that look in a comic book, but it looked a lot like something you might have on your wall. It was very pretty to look at, but it didn't really seem like a comic book type thing. And then a few pages later, it gets very sloppy. The Daily Planet globe looks like a kid just wrote Daily Planet around a globe. And but then I find out as I get to the end that the reason it kind of took me out of the story was because, again, there are 3 different artists drawing different pages. And I hate when they do that, and I'm not really sure why it continues to happen. but it takes you out of when you're reading it and it looks one way and then it changes, and then it goes back to the other way, and then it goes to a third way. It's for me anyway. When I'm reading it, it's really noticeable to me, and it takes me out of the story. And I wish that they wouldn't do that.
Obviously, there is an issue with artists being able to complete a task within a certain time frame. But I understand what you're saying, and it's noticeable, as you say, in Chapter 2, where we get Cat Grant trying to convince Clark to join forces with her, this weird website that she's come up with. I can't even, what was it? Clark
Catopoulos or something, right?
And, and then all these people start jumping off the roof of this... Clark Catopoulos, you're right, .com.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all these people, all these revelers, just start jumping off the roof of the club that they're at, and he's got to go jump and fly down and save them. And as soon as he brings them back, they jump off again, and he realizes that there's a sub kind of frequency coming from the DJ's equipment, and he destroys that to stop people from doing what they're doing. And Cat gets a bit of a scoop there, and she's first on the scene for this new story, and that's pretty much the end of the comic, except for this epilogue that we see after that.
I like Kat's idea. From her point of view, I think it works perfectly for her character, the type of character that she is, the type of thing she wants to be involved with. Yeah. But I also think that it's very in character for Clark not to be interested. Yeah. He's not glitzy. He's not glamorous. He's not trying to be a star. He wants to get the truth out there, but I don't know that he wants to be involved with this type of thing. And in the epilogue, as you mentioned, I like the final line. It's funny and it's ironic because he's saying, oh, well, he doesn't seem like he's going to be much of a problem. And of course, we know that he is, and we know that there's going to be ensuing difficulty. But what I don't like is it seems like in all of the books we've heard from many different conveyors of the future that Superman is going to be the cause of a lot of ruin in the future, and that terrible things are going to be wrought because of Superman. And my understanding, as well as yours, I'm sure, and many, many other people's, is that Superman is a great source of light and hope and goodness and, prosperity in the future and in the present. And it seems like in every book, and I don't know if it's the New 52 or if they're just trying to create, mystery or whatever, but it seems like they're kind of making it so that Superman is set up to be this harbinger of horribleness.
Well, as you were saying before earlier in the show about, does Superman attract these bad guys coming to Metropolis and doing these things because of who he is? Obviously, doesn't create these problems, but obviously he's a magnet for him in some respects because people seek him out or people, want to destroy what he's about. So I can see how that could be twisted to seem that he was the person creating these problems, if indeed he's a magnet for the problems, not necessarily the cause of the problems in the beginning. But we get Hector Hammond at the end, a foreshadowing of something that's going to be happening there. Now, moving on, we've got Action Comics. Action Comics number 19 is the next issue that we're going to be talking about. What did you make of Andy Diggle's first issue as writer for not very long run of Action Comics?
Well, it's very interesting because I found this story to be much more interesting than anything I've read from the Morrison run lately.
Yeah, I'm with you, 100%. This was a thoroughly enjoyable issue.
But we have Lex Luthor. We find out at the end that he has somehow given him some sort of infection.
Yeah.
By this fight that he had with these metallic mech kind of warrior outfits that the guys were wearing.
Yeah, and this infection, this infection that he implants in Superman, it's obviously been something that he's, been planning for a long time, and it just looks very horrible at the end. It seems to be very painful and taking over the rest of his body, and the next issue is called The Beast Within, which doesn't bode well for Superman.
No, not at all. He looks like, it's kind of eating away at his arm, and then as you say, it looks like it's going to maybe somehow take over his whole body. I found myself wondering when I read it that when I still don't feel like we have gotten a Lex Luthor kind of origin. Like, who is this guy? What happened to his face? How does he know about kryptonite? What's his deal with Superman? We saw him kind of have a couple of interactions with him, but I don't really remember kryptonite even being introduced to the world proper, so I don't even know how, maybe I'm just missing something, but Lex Luthor knows about it and is using it against him and is turning him into something or turning his body against him, or I'm not exactly sure.
And Lex's face in this is all fine, like there's no scarring in this issue, so obviously it's set before Lex's facial damage.
Yeah, it's weird because, and I know that action was earlier, but it was also supposed to be earlier when he was in the jeans, and then 5 years later when he was in the full suit, and here he's in the full suit, but Lex doesn't have a burned up face or whatever. So I'm not sure when or where these things, and maybe we're getting to that, but then that doesn't explain when kryptonite came in or how he knows about that, or you got Lois and Clark kind of flirting with each other before she meets John, who we saw in the first issue of Superman, and she's got a relationship going with him, and of course Clark is forlorn because he thought maybe he would have something going with Lois, but then there's this John guy, and it looks like Lois is kind of into Clark at the beginning, and she's going to remove his glasses, and then they, of course, get interrupted. So then I'm reminded that he's in a relationship with Wonder Woman, but yet here he is flirting with Lois, but it turns out that this is before he was in a relationship with Wonder Woman. So what I find myself often saying is, and it happened with Morrison, and this, I don't believe this is Andy Diggle's fault, I believe it's more a DC editorial kind of department where all the books are so kind of sporadic and not really connected that the whole idea of the New 52 being accessible to new people seems like a complete fabrication, because this type of thing seems like it would confuse people as opposed to help people to understand what they're reading or where they're at, because if somebody reads this and doesn't realize certain things or whatever, just like me, they go, well, I thought he was dating Wonder Woman. Or I thought Lois and him weren't together. I thought...
Yeah, there's no linear progression.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. Unless they're really just concentrating on people who are reading only one book. But that seems like a disservice to the people who are reading all 4 books.
Yeah, you're right. It does seem a bit confusing. And it is a little bit confusing, especially with not knowing where this sits in the timeline of the stories. But I enjoyed this issue as it was, trying to fit it in. I mean, without trying to fit it into where it might exist in the the continuity of things. The story itself was well written and well drawn. The covers were fantastic, and looking forward to seeing how this plays out. But moving on to Superboy number 19, as we were kind of alluding to before. Yeah, you got this time travel story of Harvest, and how he, pretty much an origin story for Harvest, and where he went and why he's, why he is the way he is, the fact that he did lose his own son, the fact that he went to, back in time to get the DNA of Superman and Lois Lane's child, and then what happened there with the child. I don't want to spoil too much about how that happened, what happened, but obviously time changed, things changed. The fact that Superman didn't end up with Lois was a big changer in Harvest's timeline, and necessitated in him going down a different path with his plans, and but he still has his finger in the machinations of what's happening there with Superboy as we know him now.
Well, it looks like Lois and Clark did get together and did have a child, and then he almost died or whatever, but didn't really die. And I'm wondering how Harvest was able to get access to this child.
Yeah, in the fortress.
In the first place, to even get in there. And, if you're Superman and Lois and you think that your child is no more, you would have some sort of a service or something, and you would put him in a protected place, which I guess is the fortress, and then somehow Harvest got in. Well, I guess if he can travel through time, he must have a way to open up his doorway to wherever he wants to. But
yeah, that makes sense.
But then many times he's talking about avenging the murder of my child, but it seems like his whole point is to travel through time to stop it from happening, in which case he wouldn't be avenging, he'd be stopping it from occurring in the first place, which seems to be the smartest thing to do. If you're able to travel through time, you don't need to worry about revenge, because the people that did what they did to cause you to do what you're doing aren't going to be in existence if you succeed.
I didn't think of that. I'm probably right, I didn't either, but you make a good point. If you're able to do all these amazing things in time travel and go back to places, why not just go back to the source of your problems in the first place and fix that? But I guess then we wouldn't have the story that we have. I
just thought that was actually part of what he was doing. He's just kind of in the middle of it. He didn't succeed yet, so I think in his mind he's still emotionally distraught and still wants to get revenge on the people who did it. But I thought at the beginning what he had said was he was going to stop the Metas from coming into power and from doing what they do, in which case then his son wouldn't be dead and, he wouldn't have the problem that he has. But
instead he's harvesting all these meta power people instead, which seems at odds with his original plan, as you say. But moving on to Supergirl. Supergirl number 19 sees Supergirl come across Power Girl, and we don't get the usual fare of these two heroes having a massive fight and not understanding each other from the get-go, and having a misunderstanding and fighting each other, which is usually the way these things go. We actually have the two of them deciding to team up because, well, pretty much they're identical.
Yeah, I guess, I didn't think that was the case initially with Power Girl, but in the new 52 at least, and maybe I'm wrong there, but it seems like they are both Kara, just from, Power Girl's from Earth 2.
Yeah.
And I don't read Earth 2, so I'm not sure how she got here or why she's here or if they're going to stay here permanently or what the situation is, but you're right, they're to the point where they're confusing the villain, who knew he was going to fight both of them, but there's two of them, and they both seem the same, except I guess maybe one's a little bit older.
Yeah, it's not really clear just what the differences are between them, but even Sanctuary, Supergirl's Kryptonian, if you like, her own Fortress of Solitude there under the ocean, recognizes them both, but then has a bit of a glitch and thinks one's the clone of the other. If there are two there, then one must be a clone, and as we know, clones are not well liked on Krypton, or the source of a lot of destruction and damage on Krypton. So whether or not it's recognizing the correct Kara as the clone, we don't know at this point in time, but that will be found out in Supergirl number 20 next month. I was interested to see Power Girl get her classic costume, if you like, in this issue.
Well, I thought it was strange, to go back to what you were saying about Sanctuary. I took notice of it because it was clear that the computers or whatever the artificial intelligence is that runs Sanctuary recognized that they were both there, helped them both, took Kara, healed her for the time being, gave the other Kara her new suit, which is in fact the old suit, and then suddenly decides that everything's not okay. But in the meantime, it had already done everything they asked it to do and helped both of them, when it would have been much easier to just leave her collapse to the ground and then fight one of them or do whatever it's going to do. So it seemed kind of odd. It almost seemed like somebody was interfering or something happened there to make it suddenly decide that what was previously okay was no longer okay. And in
Kryptonian technology might just be slow on the uptake.
Maybe. If Smallville is any indication, we got some crazy Kryptonian technology out there. I thought it was funny because Power Girl says she feels underdressed, and the reason she feels underdressed is because her suit is torn to shreds. However, she is then given a new uniform that is more exposing than what she was previously wearing, that she said she felt underdressed wearing. And I thought, again, it was also interesting. Obviously, fans have been clamoring from the beginning that these characters aren't the real characters. This isn't Superman. This isn't Superboy. Why are their costumes different? Why doesn't he have his red pants? All the clamoring rewards us is, okay, Power Girl can have her old suit back. Power Girl, who is a secondary, not particularly well-known character, gets fan service original uniform back, but the other characters don't. I found it interesting that was the character they kind of chose to revamp with a new suit already.
Yeah, interesting thoughts there. I'm not sure what the reasoning is there, and whether or not that'll be mirrored in her own book. The fact that she's a guest in this Supergirl book and yet has a costume change here will be interesting to see if that plays out in her own Earth 2 book. Not sure, or what it's called, World's Finest book. Not sure, but I guess I don't read that book, but I'm sure people will tell us if that is the case. Now,
I found myself wondering, too, my memory of the previous DC universe was that the reason why only Superman's cape would often become tattered and torn in battle was because it was far enough away from his body that the aura that protected his skin would also engulf the tight-fitting uniform.
Yeah.
And if Kryptonians have that, then how did Power Girl's bodysuit get torn to shreds anyway? Or do they not have that anymore?
No,
and that's the reason why Superman's wearing armor.
Yeah.
In which case, are we reading an actual explanation to the people who keep saying, why does Superman need armor? And people still are, whether or not you've heard it recently, people are still saying, I can't believe they got Superman in armor. In which case, this, to me, serves as a way to say, look, he's wearing armor because if he didn't, the types of battles that he got into would leave him naked.
Yeah, he'd rack up a bill of T-shirts that he needed to continue getting fixed. But yeah, I think that's very good reasoning there. The fact that the costume would get torn quite a bit if it wasn't this, Kryptonian technology. I don't like the term armor because that indicates, some type of a metallic type metal costume, where in fact it's obviously some type of Kryptonian fabric, not Kryptonian metal, shiny stuff. But anyway,
I like how it forms on him now, because I always thought it was odd that he wore full boots and a cape underneath clothing.
His Clark Kent clothing, yeah. How does he fit it all? But May is obviously just around the corner, and that will see the first issue of The Adventures of Superman, this standalone, digital-first comic book series that will have these short stories, standing, totally alone, totally separate from current continuity of the New 52. We'll see classic Superman costume designs. We'll see different variations of stories, different variations of the characters in stories by guest artists and guest writers. It will be interesting to see what is in Adventures of Superman #1, because of the fact that we've had this controversy about one of the writers who was supposed to be writing the first issue.
I think it's, speaking of confusing people with multiple stories and storylines and timelines and continuities, here we go with another book, which I am excited about. That's another book that's not going to be in continuity, that's going to have another Superman on it, that if you're a new reader that this is supposed to interest, going in, you go, wait, I thought Superman didn't have the red pants. I thought they weren't together. I don't understand, and had exploded in the comic shop.
I think this is probably for the people. I mean, they've got to explain it from the get-go in some regard, and there's got to be some kind of a introduction or some kind of an explanation at the beginning of these comics to say that these are standalone stories that probably just casual comic book people, people who don't read comic books or don't want to pick up a month-to-month thing, just want to be able to go back to the good old days where you could pick up a comic book, read the story within, and it was self-contained, and you didn't have to know what happened in the previous issue or the issue coming after it. It was just a self-contained story, and you enjoyed it for what it was without knowing where it fit or what had happened or where these characters were from. They were just kind of iconic versions of the characters that most of the general public know about.
That is a very interesting way to put it.
So hopefully that's what it is, and that's what it pans out to be, and that people who just want to be casual comic book readers can enjoy and pick up this issue, and we'll be reviewing it at the Superman homepage. So stand by for Adventures of Superman coming out in May. Now let's move away from our comic book discussions. There's been lots going on elsewhere outside the regular stories and movies and things like that.
Warner Brothers won another legal battle. Obviously, we know now that they've won the rights, complete rights to Superman from the Siegel and Schuster families who are trying to win back those copyrights. But now they've also won the Superboy rights to the character of Superboy. So whether or not we'll see movies, or some kind of websites and news places are saying, oh, this opens the door now for a Superboy movie, I don't necessarily see that as something that Warner Brothers were aiming for. But at least it now opens the door for proper Superboy comics, for the release of those Superboy animated episodes from the New Adventures of Superman comic animated shows back in the 1966 era. It just opens up the door for more Superboy stuff moving forward.
Now, I didn't read through the whole thing, but did they also get the rights to Super Pup? Because I'm waiting for a proper release of that.
I don't think you're going to be seeing that unaired pilot on primetime TV any day soon.
Okay.
I think that's a good
just wanted to ask. You're probably right.
So, it looks like the legal battles are really coming to an end, and the never-ending story, a never-ending battle of legal fights might just have an ending in sight and seem
for
to
now,
be over.
Although I think they won every time before, and it just 8 years go by and they try again.
Maybe, but for now it seems like the path is clear for Warner Brothers to continue to use Superman, Superboy, and their associated characters.
And there was much rejoicing.
Yeah, and now Injustice: Gods Among Us. It's a video game, it's a comic book. Now it's also a mobile app. It's had a battle arena online. First off, the video game has now been released. It's now available worldwide. I was lucky enough to get a preview copy from Warner Brothers and NetherRealm Studios. My wife's cousin had a PlayStation 3. He's a big video game buff, and came over with his PS3. We played the game for an hour. Excellent game. I'm not a very big video game player, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought the characters were well defined. The different moves for each character was that you didn't feel like if you just chose Superman over Batman, or you got Catwoman, or you chose Doomsday or Lex Luthor, that you were just playing the same character with a different body. Each character has such a different feel to it, has a whole different set of moves, a whole different set of special features. It really is a different character for a different game each time you're playing it, and thoroughly enjoyed the hour that I played it. The review that we got from his friend who borrowed it for 3 days to play it and do a review for the Superman homepage was also very glowing, and I've only seen good things about this game online from the people who have now had time with it.
Well, that's very heartening, I suppose. I plan on renting it eventually, just to see how it is. I did buy the DC versus Mortal Kombat one, and I thought through most of the things that I've seen that this looked very similar to that, and thought, well, I don't want to buy another one that's kind of the same, but I'll take a look at it through rental and see what I think.
Yeah, and people have said that there's obviously a lot of thought and a lot of planning and a lot of effort and detail has gone in by NetherRealm Studios into this game, as opposed to the previous DC versus Mortal Kombat game. There seems to be a lot more effort put into this, and I think it shows. It's a well-rounded game. The storyline itself, obviously, with the comic book, the prequel comic book, has left a few people wanting more, or hasn't necessarily hit the mark where they thought, where it positions certain characters. But it's a story to get the game to be where it is, because people want to know, why is Superman fighting Batman? Why is Superman fighting Wonder Woman? Why? It's a fighting game, so you're going to get. There's no real rhyme or reason for why these characters are fighting each other. It's just a fanboy thing where people want to see what would happen if Superman did fight, Batman, or what would happen if Green Lantern did fight the Flash. And in this game, you really get a sense of that effort that they've put in for that reason.
Well, of course, as we know, and I don't know that it really came as a surprise to anyone, but we did get to see what would happen if Batman fought Superman, and I wasn't surprised that Batman, of course, won the whole thing.
Yeah, this battle arena that they've been doing online that's had, bouts, and then they went to the quarterfinals and semi-finals, and then the grand final was, as we all expected, Superman versus Batman. And really, this was a popularity contest. This was about people voting online for who they wanted to win, not who would necessarily win, because straight away the Batman fans go, oh yeah, we had kryptonite, and it was like, well, in the actual fight that they showed online, I don't see any kryptonite anywhere involved, and if Superman did punch Batman out into the stratosphere and then bashed him back down to Earth, Batman would be a pulp, would just be a mess of goo on the ground. But this is a fighting game, it's a video game. All the characters have to have some kind of semblance of being on an even keel, even power levels, otherwise it will just be over within a second. And as I said, this battle arena was a popularity contest, and Batman won.
Yes, and I noticed we had a little poll, and God bless them. God bless the Superman fans that said, I voted for Superman and he will win. And of course, that was the highest amount on our poll. People, wishing and hoping that Superman would win. Actually, I think it was over 40%, which was more than the others by quite a bit.
Yeah, where in fact Superman, we voted for him, but we thought Batman would win. That was what I voted for.
Me too.
And that was the way it turned out. I just knew Batman fans would somehow come out on top. But I'll be interested to see what happens if they did this vote after Man of Steel hit cinemas.
Well, be careful what you wish for, because
they might do it.
We don't know yet if it's going to be the thing we wanted. I mean, I'm just hoping. I hope that he finally, claims his place atop the pile of other heroes. But
I didn't see.
Batman's got quite a stranglehold on most people.
Yeah. Now, if you can't afford the video game, the full out, PlayStation 3. An Xbox 360 version of this Injustice Gods Among Us video game. There is a free mobile app, a game. I think it's obviously it is for the iOS devices, iPhones, iPads, iPod Touches. I've downloaded the game. Very enjoyable. It's very simple and very easy to play. It gets harder as the levels go on. You get to play as certain DC characters. Superman's in there, but you don't unlock him until later in the game. So if up front you're playing with the Flash, Green Lantern, Nightwing, then you unlock Catwoman along the way, and then you're versing villains like Sinestro, Lex Luthor, and other such villains. And it's enjoyable. It's not very difficult, but well worth playing if you have one of those devices and want to check it out at the App Store. So Injustice Gods Among Us, check it out via the iTunes App Store. And that brings us to our April Fool's Day pranks. April 1st was obviously nearly a month since we were, down the track. We're recording this podcast, and we caught out quite a few people with our news pranks on April Fool's Day. A lot of people are waiting for them now. It's become a tradition at the Superman homepage. April 1st, they just know coming to the site that they're going to see something that's a bit off-center, a bit out there. And some people still get caught out because they're not sure whether or not the news item that they're seeing at the homepage on April 1st is something real, because we try to make them, especially the first couple of news items, try to make them as real as possible, but then there's an element to them that's just bizarre and out there, and a lot of people go, if that's true, then I'm going to freak out. And then they click on the button and they realise it's an April Fool's Day prank. And it's a lot of fun. Did you happen to get caught out this year, Scotty?
I'm trying to remember exactly what the stories were. I thought that there was one, when I first went, I didn't realize it was April 1st. Wasn't there one that was kind of a positive thing? I'm trying to remember the
first one was about Supergirl making a cameo appearance in Man of Steel, and that would then spring off into her own movie, in which she was making home movies of a salacious type.
Yes.
There was one about a Lana Lang TV spin-off. The second one I'm just having a third one, down the track was Cartoon Network announcing a Young Justice Season 3. So maybe that was the one you're thinking of as being the positive one. A lot of people thought that was a bit too early to play that prank. I called the next season Young Justice Resurrection, but obviously that's not true, and a lot of people were upset that it wasn't true. That may be the one you were thinking about.
I think it was the Supergirl one. When I first read the it took me like 3 words to realize it was April 1st, but not because I was not because of what I read made me go, that can't possibly be true. I actually, when you open up the picture of the Supergirl that you had there, you realize that it was a photo photo that came out years ago or whatever of some hot brown-haired girl in a Supergirl outfit. But the close-up of just the S on her chest, I actually got a little excited for a moment, thinking that there was actually a possibility that Supergirl would be making an appearance in this Man of Steel movie, which I don't really believe Nolan would allow because he doesn't like there to be other comic book characters in the world. But it only took me a few seconds to realize what the date was. And then, of course, all the other ones I think are a little more absurd. And
especially the Superman homepage changing its name and focus, that we would now be called Superheroes United Together Universal Provider, which the acronym came to shutup.org. And that was obviously not true. But fun nevertheless. These April Fool's Day pranks, they're getting harder to trick people, but we had a lot of fun with them. Now, the other thing we wanted to touch on before we move into the big question segment of the show is the 2013 Superman celebration, as you mentioned, is happening in June as well. They've named a couple of celebrity guests coming this year. Margot Kidder and Michael Rosenbaum are both returning to Metropolis. They've been there both before and will be coming back for the 2013 celebration this year.
Well, I missed them when they were there before,
Me
and
too.
As it turns out, I'm going to miss them again. I'm very sad because
yes, I'm very sad about that too. Because Michael Bailey's also now said that he won't be able to come along because of the incident, the accident that his wife has had. So disappointed not to be able to catch up with yourself and Michael at the Superman celebration this year, the 35th annual Superman celebration, but looking forward to coming across meeting Margot Kidder and Michael Rosenbaum at this celebration. Also, they've announced some comic book creators, Ron Friends, Art Baltazar, Brett Breeding and Chris Sprouse are all going to be there at Artist Alley and Writer's Way at the celebration. So looking forward to the Superman celebration, which takes place June 6th to June 9th in Metropolis, Illinois. If you want more information about the celebration, you go to supermancelebration.net.
Just so you're aware, those who didn't know the story or are brought up to speed on it, Michael's wife is okay. She's just she was in an accident and has some injuries that will make it too hard for her to travel. But we wish them the best, of course. And Michael's an awesome guy, and I was looking forward to meeting up with everybody there as well. And hopefully at some point somehow, Steve, I'll be able to see you during your trip over here because. As people in America are aware, United States here are aware, Australia is quite a long trip.
Yes, quite a long trip.
For me to come over there and see you is probably not going to happen. Not that I wouldn't take the long trip. It's the affording of the long trip that's... Now, isn't Cat Grant, the woman who played Cat Grant on Lois and Clark, also coming to the
That's correct,
celebration?
Yes. There are a number of other stars coming to the Superman celebration. What's her name? It's escaping me now. I'll find it for you in a second. Tracy Scoggins,
there it is.
who was Cat Grant in Lois and Clark, the TV series, will be one of the celebrity guests attending this year as well. She'll be joined by Laurie Mitchell-Roberts and Gregory Moffat, who both appeared in episodes of the Adventures of Superman TV series, which starred George Reeves, of course. Obviously lesser known, probably not known to people unless they're big fans of the Adventures of Superman TV series. But Tracy Scoggins is obviously more well known to more recent Superman fans as Cat Grant, and yes, she will be there this year as well. I'm not sure if there's any other bigger stars. I know Kidder and Rosenbaum are huge stars in the Superman world, but because they've been there before, I thought maybe for this 35th annual Superman celebration that they might have
a big name appearing this year, but not sure if that's still to be announced. But we'll keep an eye on SupermanCelebration.net for all the Superman Celebration announcements.
I kind of missed her the second season. I thought she was a kind of an electrifying, exciting, energizing presence. And she kind of got less and less throughout the first season, and then it was gone when the second season began. But would have been nice to see more of her there. But I was kind of excited when I heard she was coming, and Michael Rosenbaum, and it was neat to kind of almost make me change my mind about not going. But I don't see how I could do that.
Oh, well, fair enough. Let's move into the big question segment of the show.
Let's start with the big question.
Last month's question was, what Man of Steel merchandise are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, Scotty and I talked about how it's going to hit the hip pocket. So let's see what people are thinking they'll be able to afford and will want to get for all that Man of Steel merchandise.
Well, George Amaro wrote, all of it. Seriously, though. I'll likely get as many action figures, statues as I can afford or like well enough to buy. I'll also grab a few T-shirts. I look forward to seeing everything that comes out for this film and will likely pick up things that I don't know about yet or didn't think I would.
Yeah, well done, George. Statues are things that I'm looking forward to as well, and we'll probably try to collect. John writes in, most likely I'll be getting a video game based on the movie, if there is one. We haven't heard about that. And a comic book based on the movie, and or maybe a promotional poster. Other than that, nothing else except maybe a large plastic cup at the movies that might have Man of Steel images on it. Fair enough.
Mikey B, who often sends in audio answers, did so again this month, so here's what he had to say.
Hi Steve, hi Scotty, it's Mikey B. Well, I've been thinking a lot about this question, so I'm glad you asked. First, the merchandise looks super, so for this movie, everything looks great. I think my main thing is I want to enjoy this whole experience and have fun with it. So, and certainly not overdo. I got 2 young kids, so I'll probably be picking up some things maybe more skewed towards them, like those action figures that you fling around, or some of the books. But I was going to try to not overdo, and just have fun with it. As I said, I picked up this shirt already, so I guess I'm off to a good start. But I know it's an interesting question because it's different for everybody, and I'm looking forward to some of the stuff. But yeah, probably just some of the younger skewed stuff for my kids, and maybe a couple things here and there, maybe a couple of the action figures for myself. But that's it. But as I said, I'm just looking forward to seeing all this happening, and it's cool to see Scotty's stuff and on his speeding bulletins, or we watched or Steve's stuff all in the background there. And as I said, it's just different for everyone. Everyone's going to have their own collection, and it's going to be fun to see what everybody does with it. But I just hope whatever it is, all this stuff is a success, and the movie turns out to be a huge success. So, but anyway, guys, interested to hear what everyone else has to say. So take care.
Well, thank you, Mikey. Some interesting ideas there on what he might get. Guthrie McLean writes in, so far my favourite merchandise has been the action figures. I can't wait to fight Zod with my Superman figure. Only thing I feel missing is a Clark Kent with glasses changeable Superman figure. I fear that we won't see a Clark Kent with glasses in the movie due to not making a Clark Kent with glasses toy, because I especially want this kind of toy. When I get bored with Clark, I can just change him into Superman. If I get bored with Superman, I can put his reporter clothes back on. Other than the toys, I like the new t-shirt and the storybooks. The statues are most impressive. The statues resemble the cast, however the 31-inch statue of Superman's face looks nothing like the likeness of Cavill. I hope we get more toys though. Interesting, I haven't heard of too many fans actually playing with their toys, but...
No, he wants to fight them together, that's cool. I didn't know there was a 31-inch statue of Superman's face. Is that actually related to Man of Steel, or is that something...
No, it's a 31-inch figure. And he's saying that the face of on that figure doesn't look too much like Cavill.
Gotcha. Hector wrote, I'm looking forward to buying the Man of Steel t-shirt for my nephew and I. Can't wait for the movie.
Yeah, well done, Hector.
Short, sweet
got to get in quick, because I believe HotTopic.com are running out very fast with their official Man of Steel t-shirt.
Hunter writes in and he says, I'm so grateful that you asked this question. With all the merchandise that has been announced, I have been torn on what I am most excited about. I've seen all the statues thus far, and yes, they are amazing, but a little out of my price range. I'm really excited about the Movie Masters Edition figures, as those will be probably the highest quality figure they release, other than the Sideshow 12-inch figure that will come out later this year. I'm also hoping for an expansion wave of more characters.
Would be nice to see some of the other characters as well.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for
Jonathan.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it would be nice to see some of those extra, the supporting cast of characters. But thank you everyone for your answers to that big question. Scotty, what is our new big question for this month?
What did you like best about the new 3-minute Man of Steel trailer?
Yeah, we've said that the majority of people out there seem to love it. But what is it specifically about this 3-minute trailer that you liked most? You can get involved with the big question segment of the show by clicking on the big question button found at the Superman homepage and sending your answer in. You can also audio record your answer, and Scotty and I will play that here on Radio KAL next month.
I feel like we're going to get quite a few answers to this one.
Yes. What was your favourite part of the trailer?
Oh, I think it was just so much to love. But the thing that stuck out to me most was when Lara said they'll kill him, and Jor-El said, how? That was just because I've always thought that, they've said it on other variations of the character, they'll cut you up like a frog or whatever, they'll dissect you. My thought was always, how will they do that? But Jor-El expressed it perfectly for me.
Very cool. Yeah, I like the Jonathan and young Clark Kent scene where, Clark says, can't we pretend that I'm your son? And Jonathan, emotionally hugs him and says, you are my son. I thought that was very cool. I love that scene in the trailer. So let us know your thoughts on the new big question. Get involved with this segment of the show.
Only one thing alive with less than 4 legs can hear this frequency, Superman, and that's you.
And now it's time for the super secret soundbite. Last month's sound came from Initiation, the pilot episode of Justice League Unlimited animated series. 7 people managed to guess it correctly, and they are Alex, Jeremy Crawford, John F., Fred Walsh, Matthew Apps, Doug Johnson, and Derek Stokely.
Yes, congratulations to those 7 people for guessing where that sound came from. Let's see if they and more people can guess where in the world of Superman this new sound comes from.
The armor won't help. Just shut up and fight.
Well, if you think you know where in the world of Superman that sound came from, use the super secret soundbite entry form found at the Superman homepage and send your entry in. Each person who guesses it right will have their name read out in our next Radio KAL podcast.
The Superman song this month is from Superman fan Grady Nichols. He's a songwriter and a saxophonist who has worked with Grammy winners Bill Champlin from the group Chicago, Chris Botti, Paul Brown, and Grammy-nominated Jeff Lorber, plus Lee Nash of Sixpence None the Richer.
Yeah, his latest project is called Destinations, which you can find a myriad of information about on his website at gradynichols.com. That's GradyNichols.com. Grady has written and recorded the following song titled Superman, which he says is really about the Lois and Clark dynamic before she knows his secret. What else did he say about this song, Scotty?
He said it's relatable also to the circumstance that we've all experienced at one time. The girl you've always felt was out of your reach and totally with the wrong guy. If only she could see you as her Superman who can save her and bring her happiness.
Yes, well, this is Superman by Grady Nichols.
You know it's plain to me. Don't need X-ray to see that he can love you the way that you deserve to be loved. There is a fire in my eyes. When will you realize friends can be much more than friends when it's just meant to be? And have you ever heard of destiny? I'll be Don't you know you need to be rescued? And you are my kryptonite. Make me so weak I just might move heaven and earth just to see you smile. And I am your memory, with a secret I will reveal. Don't you know how much I love you? So bring on the bad guys and come on me. I'm here to save your day. I'm here to save your day. I'm here to save your
Well, that's the song and that's the show for another month.
Well, that is very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Grady, for allowing us to play that here on Radio KAL. Now, remember, if there is a suggestion for a topic you think Scotty and I need to discuss here on Radio KAL, maybe there's a song you'd like to request, maybe there's a big question you'd like us to ask the fans, any of those suggestions can be sent to us using the KAL feedback form found at the Superman homepage. Alternatively, you can send us an email. My email address is steve@supermanhomepage.com, or you can get Scotty via scotty@supermanhomepage.com, and we will try to use those suggestions in a future show. But for now, this is our 100th episode of Radio KAL. Thank you, Scotty, for your input.
Thank you, Steve. It's been nice talking to you, everybody. And remember, I will find him.
You've been listening to Radio KAL, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.